present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones and Amy MacDonald in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Once again to Just a Minute, where once again we're pleased to welcome back in the fourth chair Amy MacDonald, who has played the game a few times to compete against these three tough male exponents of the game, whom you all know too well for me to mention. Once again I'm going to ask them to speak if they can for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject without hesitation, without repetition and without deviating from the subject on the card, if they can. Let us begin the show this week with Clement Freud. Clement, a lovely subject to start the show with, because it so often happens in this programme, getting knotted. Clement, will you talk to us about getting knotted for 60 seconds, starting now?
Getting knotted is a colloquial phrase, which I think at one time meant becoming spliced, joining in holy matrimony, taking unto oneself a better half. But now has a completely different meaning.
Amy MacDonald, why have you challenged?
Deviation, I suppose. He's mixing up getting knotted with getting...
Spliced?
No, it's the other one, hitched.
Spliced, hitched, knotted,
yes.
You see. I think what he's saying is, you see, because of splice and hitch, there are all types of knots, aren't they? I think it was originally getting knotted and probably has now become to mean something else which he's about to tell us about. So... I think I must give the benefit of the doubt to Clement Freud and say that he has a point for an incorrect challenge. He keeps the subject, therefore, and he has 43 seconds left, starting now.
Nowadays, getting knotted means, as Amy MacDonald so correctly challenged, not getting married.
Just a minute, we must interrupt there. If Amy MacDonald's challenge was correct and you say it was correct, Clement Freud, I have to give her a point and the subject. So, Amy, you have a point which has been awarded to you by Clement Freud because he admitted that he was at fault just a minute ago, and you have 31 seconds starting now.
Oh, crikey.
Clement Freud's challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, that was rather clever of you, Clement, to give it to us so rapidly and get it back. So you have a point for a correct challenge and 30 seconds on getting knotted, starting now.
Kenneth Williams is the sort of man who uses terms like get knotted. And as I...
Peter Jones, a challenge.
Well, of course, he isn't. He doesn't use it. I've never heard him use this expression. I've always rather admired the way Kenneth has spoken. And
There's a little bit of flattery will get you a very long way in this game, won't you? All right, so it's a difficult thing on which to judge whether Kenneth uses it a lot or not. I don't think he uses it a lot, so Peter gets the benefit of the doubt, and there are 23 seconds for getting knotted with you, Peter, starting now.
something to do with worms and snakes being tied up. And it's a very insulting thing to say to anybody, just as it is if you put a knot in a...
Kenneth Williams, a challenge.
Hesitation, I pray there was an error there.
Yes, there was a very definite error. So everybody's speaking the first round, which is lovely, isn't it? Kenneth, we're now going to hear from you. The subject is getting knotted, and there are 13 seconds left, starting now.
Of course, the accurate description of this is the maintenance of the nervous system into a whole series of knots. So, making you, I strangulate you, you see, with anger. They say, oh, get knotted. Meaning that you are all knotted up.
Kenneth was speaking then when the whistle went.
That means I'm in the lead, right?
Let me just remind everybody, Kenneth, when the whistle is blown, it means 60 seconds is up.
And I've got a point.
And whoever is speaking then gets a point. And this
I'm in the lead.
Kenneth was... Yes, you're in the lead. You have 2 points.
Good.
Clement Freud's in the lead alongside you. Peter Jones and Amy MacDonald both have 1 point. They're not very far behind you. Amy MacDonald, will you begin the second round for us? And the subject that Ian Messett has thought of for you is the superior sex. Can you talk to us about the superior sex for 60 seconds, starting now?
And the superior sex is, of course, the female sex, because we're so much cleverer and so much more capable than the male sex.
Peter challenged Wivey Jones.
Well, I'm sorry to stop her, but she did repeat much. She did much twice, you see.
Yes, she did, yes. But
You
I
heard
think, well, all right. Occasionally one has to be accurate. If he repeats a word, then one has to be fair. And there are 52 seconds on the superior sex starting now.
Well, I don't think there is such a thing. I think they are complementary. Like...
Kenneth Williams has challenged. Why?
Two, I think.
Yes, there were two things, so we're being tougher now. 47 seconds on the superior sex with you, Kenneth, starting now.
It is unquestionably the male sex. There is no doubt whatsoever in my mind about that.
Hesitation.
Yes, or a repetition of So,
Well, I sort of said it now. I suddenly realised it was so right. I sort of fell about because I was so right. Do you know what I mean?
last time Amy was with us, she sang something which she thought was so right, and she fell about. And you got her on that one, she's got you on this one. Amy, the subject is the superior sex. You have 38 seconds starting now.
Women can do so much more. I mean, they can have babies, they can cook, look after houses, and go to...
Clement Freud is challenged. Why have you challenged?
I agree with Amy.
So what does that mean?
I wanted to have another point.
Because I artfully took you up in the first round and snatched a point from you for Amy, you want to deliberately give her one this time. All right, Kenneth, that's...
Because she can cook.
She can cook. Ah, that's the reason I'm giving her a point, are you? Don't please give each other too many points. It makes the game too impossible to judge. There are 30 seconds on the superior sex, still with you, Amy, having gained another point with the help of Clement Freud, starting now.
On top of that, they have so much more integrity. They actually make the male sex believe that they are the superior ones, when in actual fact they're not. And that in itself is quite a feat. So that makes the female sex much more cleverer. And I think...
Yes, Clement, what is your challenge?
Just,
You agree with
you
her?
nail
You're
it.
absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, all right. I agree with your challenge on this occasion, and you have a point, and there are 13 seconds left. The superior sex starting now.
An American gentleman whom I met on a Boeing 747 crossing the Atlantic gave me...
Peter Jones has challenged. Why?
deviation.
Why?
Because it's nothing to do with the superior sex. It may be a superior airline, but it hasn't anything to do with sex. His story...
He probably was about to go on and prove the point, but I must say the way he'd started didn't convince me that he was about to make any point about the superior sex.
No,
So
it didn't.
I wouldn't go on, Peter, because I'm leaning your way on this one and giving you a point. And 6 seconds left, starting now.
And if you can examine both sexes close to and thoroughly...
There's no need for filth. We don't want to look.
So what is your challenge, Kenneth?
Deviation. Undoubtedly deviation, most devious.
Well, why? Why is it most devious?
Because we're here to discuss the superior sex, not the close examination of both.
But maybe by the close examination of both, you'd find out which was the superior one. Peter, you have a point for an incorrect challenge. You have half a second, starting now.
It's wonderful.
Peter Jones now has a very definite lead at the end of that round. Lead of 2 over Amy. Clement and Kenneth are all equal in second place. Peter Jones, we're going to hear from you again because it's your turn to begin the next round. The subject, just simply, uncle. Will you talk about uncle for 60 seconds starting now?
Yes, I had a favourite one, and during the war, when cinemas offered half-price seats to servicemen, he went wearing his bowler hat and carrying an umbrella to the box office at the Empire Cinema and said, half-price Secret Service, and was admitted. And he also was able to get into places like the Royal Enclosure at Ascot by giving the policeman on the gate a £5 note and saying, put this on my horse in the 3 o'clock. And he didn't have a horse, of course, but...
Clement Freud is challenged.
A repetition of the 2 horses he didn't have.
Rather devious thought, dropping the fiver to the police. Clement, I agree with your challenge of repetition, so you gain a point on the subject, and there are 25 seconds left, starting now.
Colloquially, the word uncle means...
Amy MacDonald, why have you challenged?
Hesitation.
Oh, I don't think so, Amy, no. Clement was generous to you a little while ago, so I
He
think...
said the word uncle.
Oh, do that again. Very good, that.
It's
Very good.
yes, it didn't sound very much like Clement Freud. No, things that he didn't really hesitate. And
It's
enough.
timing, yeah.
No, it was
No,
good
not
timing.
enough.
Not enough, no, to gain you a point, Amy. So we leave it with Clement, and there are 21 seconds left on Uncle Clement, starting now.
Means a pawn shop or broker. Up and down the city road, in and out the wherever.
Peter
That's the way
Jones,
the money goes. Pop goes the weasel.
I would agree with that hesitation, Peter. There are 13.5 seconds on Uncle, starting now.
In and out the Eagle, of course, which was a public house in that area, frequented by the poor people who worked in that neighborhood. And they were often short of money and took
So Peter Jones cleverly kept going by substituting a different word as he went along, which is one of the real arts of this game, which Clement Freud shows us so well on occasions. So, Peter, you still have the lead. You're 1 point ahead of Clement, who's crept up, and Kenneth Williams and Amy MacDonald are both equal in third place. And Kenneth, your turn to begin. The subject, trivia. Would you talk on trivia for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, it's a collection of very small and important things, and I've got a number of those. I've a little chamber pot, and I've got a little whale. That's a souvenir of a rather charming occasion when I was in a play called Moby Dick. And I always remember it, 'cause the opening night I had a very long scene to play, and the director, who was also the leading actor, leaned forward and said, "Get off." And, of course, the whole thing was cut, you see. So I went off and stood in the wings, feeling very woebegone and wan. And another artist said, "What are you doing here? Hadn't you got that long thing done?" I said, "Yes, he just said get off." And they said, "No, did he?" I said, "Yes, isn't it awful?" And we were both laughing. And then he suddenly said, "Oh, dear, it's me, isn't it?" I said, "Yes, of course, Ian, I seen you were on." And when he ran, it was too late, of course, you see. And he had all these lines about the black and the white with my hand in
Amy
mine.
MacDonald has challenged you at last. Yes, Amy.
Deviation.
Why?
Well, he's talking about, everything
This is
except
trivia.
trivia.
This is trivia, the whole thing. Of course it is.
Yes, even all the deviations and repetitions and everything else.
Everything,
It's all trivia, dear. It's all trivia. That's right. All right.
I suppose, yes, that's quite a clever interpretation of trivia. So, Amy, a good challenge,
She
because...
should have challenged on repetition, shouldn't she? Really?
Yes, and meditation, yes.
That's what she should have done, of course.
Yes, but I think on...
generous, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes, I thought you were.
Yes,
you were overlooking
you
the
wanted
first
to have a
part.
point.
Yes.
Yes, you wanted to
mistake.
encourage him. I agree with you, Amy. You're playing it like the chaps now. Well done. So, you got a point for an incorrect challenge. And 3 seconds with your trivia starting now.
Another is wood shavings, which come in very handy for rock.
The Kenneth Williams fan club in the front row here are cheering like mad. And they were delighted that Kenneth was speaking when the whistle went, because he got the extra point. And he has leapt forward into third place. And the subject is back with Amy. Last nights. So can you talk for 60 seconds on that subject, starting now?
In my diary this morning, I wrote down that last night was rather a pleasant one for me. I started off by going to the theatre in not very much traffic. I got there in plenty of good time. I sat putting my makeup on, relaxing with a cigarette at the same time. And then I went on stage to a lovely audience who loved everything I did, and everybody in the cast was so happy, and it really was a really very nice night. Afterwards, I was picked up by a very nice gentleman. Oh, sorry, no, that's not right. Yes. That's terrible.
I think Peter said you shouldn't reveal your
Yes.
pickups,
No,
really.
that was wrong, yes.
Oh, yeah. We don't know it was wrong. If you say it was wrong, it's only your memory of the situation. We don't know what happened, Amy.
No.
Was it wrong after?
Somebody buzzed me.
Yes, I did.
Peter.
I wanted to save you any further embarrassment.
Yeah. So before, Amy, you tell us how wrong you were, we'll give Peter Jones a point on the subject with 26 seconds left on last night's, starting now.
was mild for the time of year, uneventful as far as I was concerned, as I didn't do very much. I had a drink about 6 and then moseyed round to some neighbours, where we spent a couple of hours congratulating each other on the rise of the property in our area. And some young people came and they started groaning about the rise in...
Clement Royd is challenged. Why?
The rise,
Yes,
repetition.
well, everything's rising these days, I suppose. But I'm afraid you can't repeat the word twice in just a minute. So, Peter, Clement has a correct challenge and a point and 2 seconds.
Scintillating evening, though, you spent. Really. Got me going over here, huh?
But he did keep going on the subject, didn't he? So 2 seconds with you, Clement Freud. Last night's starting now.
Last night I kept going on the
So Clement Freud was speaking with the whistle when gained the extra point and has now crept up a little on Peter Jones. Peter, your turn to begin. The subject is topsy-turvy. Can you talk to us on that one for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, it means turning something upside down, like Samuel Butler in his book Erewhon, which is everywhere.
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
deviation.
Why?
It's nowhere.
Nowhere. That's right, it is.
Nowhere.
And
Well,
so
of
am
course,
I.
Actually, that was pretty obvious, Peter, that you were nowhere. The thing is, of course, you could have wriggled out of it by saying that the book was everywhere, but too late.
Ah, you know.
Yes.
Right.
Clement, I agree with your challenge, and you have 47 seconds on a topsy-turvy starting now.
In a topsy-turvy world, Amy MacDonald would not only be king, but would speak for minutes on end without giggling, would rule the Conservatives with a rod of iron, and amuse the Labour Party at the same time. A topsy-turvy existence is very much what many people need beyond all else. Humour, idiocy.
Amy MacDonald's challenge, why?
Hesitation.
Yes, after idiocy,
yes.
he dried up completely, didn't he? So, Amy, I agree with your challenge, and you have a point and 21 seconds on topsy-turvy starting now.
When my cupboards get topsy-turvy, I take everything out and I start all over again. It can take an awful long time, actually, to get everything back in order, because usually the paper bags that everything has fallen out, which gets all...
Dissertation on Amy MacDonald's topsy-turvy life has taken her into third place behind Clement Freud, who's 1 point behind our leader, who is still Peter Jones, and the next subject is with Clement Freud. And Clement, the subject which we have now is what I shall do with my beard when I have finished with it. Clement, can you talk on that long subject for 60 seconds starting now?
The question, what I shall do with my beard when I have finished with it, is one that supposes that I am going to finish with it. A supposition which I honestly do not envisage.
Kenneth Williams' challenge.
Well,
Why?
deviation. If he doesn't count it, you don't discuss it. Shut his mouth out and let them do it. Ludicrous.
Well, the thing is, you see, Kenneth, and I have to be accurate on this, especially when we have a tight contest. After all, as long as you keep going on the subject and not deviate from the subject on the card...
No, I
it's
was
not
helping him
deviation.
out. He was obviously fading into oblivion. I could see it. It was
Well,
all over.
let's see, he keeps the subject because it's an incorrect challenge and his oblivion may arrive, you never know, any moment. There are 46 seconds on what I shall do with my beard when I have finished with it, Clement, starting now.
I shall, I suppose, although this is unlikely to happen, grip a razor in my left hand, stretch my face with the right, and in a few brisk strokes remove from my chin and upper face such stubble.
Amy MacDonald is challenged. Why?
His beard isn't on his upper face. That's his forehead.
That's a very clever challenge, yes. So, Amy, you have a point, and the subject, and there are 28 seconds on what I shall do with my beard when I have finished with it. Starting now.
If it was a very thick one, I would probably send it to a shop and get it made up into a hairpiece. It would be very practical, actually.
Okay, the challenge, why?
Well, because everything just tailed away. I mean, it's hesitation of the worst kind.
Of the worst, well, I don't say the worst kind, the most enchanting kind. She was quite overcome with the thought of her beard being turned into a hairpiece. So, Kenneth, you helped her out there. You have the subject. And there are 16 seconds left on what I shall do with my beard when I have finished with it, starting now.
Well, should the situation arise, I would remove it and make of this remnant a rather delightful and embroidered pin cushion. And people could say, when I was showing them this, you could stick your pins in your ear.
So, Kenneth was speaking, Emma Lewis, and gained the extra point, and he's still in third place. Amy's 1 point behind.
How is it I'm doing all this and I'm getting nothing? It's a swindle, isn't it? What a fiddle!
I must point out to our listeners, all that was brought about by the fact that Kenneth wouldn't believe what was going on. He left his chair to look at the score, which Ian Messiter keeps. And Amy MacDonald, your turn to begin. The subject, daydreams. Would you talk to us about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
Daydreams can be very relaxing things, and a lot of people often do it. I used to do it very much when I was at school, and it took
Kenneth
form...
Williams, the challenge, why?
Well, the I presume, wasn't hesitation.
Yes, and the do it was a bit of repetitious too, wasn't it? She did an awful lot of it at school, apparently. Kenneth, the repetition of gives you the subject and a point. There are 49 seconds left with you, Kenneth, starting now.
They are much the same as any other dream, except that they do occur during the day time, and wish fulfillment plays a large part in the picture which they create. And it's often said that to move very quickly the ancient British sparkers, the wax, or stuff in the eardrum in order to pass time safely is a hallucinatory experience, as opposed to, say, a very sane vision of the future. Could we have
Peter Jones's challenge, right?
Repetition.
What of?
Repetition of...
Leap up and take his jacket off. It's obvious that the audience are complete agreement with Peter's challenge. It was not only a clever challenge, but also Kenneth was speaking so quietly. I think he deserves to lose it, really. So, Peter, the audience are with you. You have the subject and a point, and there are 24 seconds left for daydreams, starting now.
Put me in mind of that wonderful show called Wake Up and Dream, because they are, as Kenneth rightly said, in midst the hesitation and deviation and repetition.
Clement Freud's challenge, why?
Deviation.
Why? Why?
You can't rightly say something with all those...
In the
negative
midst of it, I said.
And he got a challenge, you see, so it couldn't have been rightly said by Kenneth Williams.
No, you see, we did establish that he was hesitating. I mean, he's repetiting. I'm sorry. That he was being repetitious.
There ought to be that word repetiting. It's very nice.
That doesn't really describe what you were doing.
Thank you very much. You're very nice. Come again.
We've completely lost the challenge now. Peter was saying that in Kenneth's dissertation, in which he included repetition and hesitation and deviation, which could well be possible because nobody could hear exactly what he said here, even though the listeners did. Peter Jones, I disagree with Clement's challenge, so you have a point, and you have 13 seconds on daydreams starting now.
There are various ways in which one can encourage these daydreams to appear, like going to the cinema or outside in the open air, looking very hard at the clouds and trying to...
And so it now remains for me to give you the final score at the end of this edition of Just a Minute. It's a very, very even score. Amy MacDonald was only 1 point. She was in fourth place at last, but only 1 point behind Kenneth Williams, who was only 1 point behind Clement Freud. But he was, at the end of that last round, a few points behind Peter Jones, who leapt into the lead to become this week's winner. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and we'll want to tune in again next time. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The program was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by Simon Brett.
Jones, Clement Freud, Peter Jones and Sheila Hancock in just a minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome to Just a Minute. And once again, I am pleased to welcome back after a short break of Sheila Hancock. Let's come back to play Just a Minute in the fourth chair against our three regular male competitors of the game. And just to remind you, if you don't already know it, I'm going to ask each one to speak if they can for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject without hesitation, without repetition, without deviating from the subject on the card. And we begin this week with Peter Jones. Peter, the first subject we want you to talk about this week is Fiddlesticks. That's a nice subject to begin the show with. So, Peter, can you talk to us for 60 seconds about that, starting now?
Bosh, eyewash, balderdash are euphemisms for rubbish. And they have a kind of Victorian air about them. When people in those times wanted to silence someone or wanted to indicate that they were boring the living daylights out of them, they used to utter one of these words. There are, of course, many others, like fluff. That's another one. And it isn't often used nowadays, neither are these others, because language has developed and become much more potent, and more words are permitted.
Clement Freud is challenged.
It was really a slip of my thumb. I'm sorry. He had said others and more so often.
Yes, I think we must be fair. I'll give it to you this time. More, 2 mores. So, Clement, correct challenge repetition. You get a point for that, and you have 20 seconds left, and the subject is Fiddlesticks, starting now.
The word fiddlesticks, quite apart from the phrase...
Peter Jones, a challenge.
Hesitation.
Yes, I think it was a tough one, but I think just the benefit of the doubt this time, Peter. You have a point for a correct challenge of hesitation. 16 seconds.
Pause between 2 words.
But you paused long enough for me to consider it was hesitation.
Really?
Yes, yes. So, Peter, I agree with the challenge, and you take the subject of Fiddlesticks, 16 seconds, starting now.
There are people who make violins, violas, and even cellos out of matches and walking sticks, and I believe even out of human hair. Now, if one of these instruments were made out of a stick...
Sheila challenged just before the whistle.
Well, I take it back.
It's too late, Sheila. You've got to say
Well,
something now.
he has said out of an awful lot, hasn't he? Out of matchsticks, out of human hair, out of... He said it every time.
Well, I didn't actually remember all these
Why didn't you interrupt before, then?
Well, because I thought I'd give you the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, it's no good being patronising.
No, I think when there's only half a second to go, I'm going to give Peter the benefit of the doubt. I tell you what, if he did say out of once, we won't charge anything for it. We'll assume you didn't buzz, and Peter gets the point for speaking when the whistle went. Peter has a 1-point lead over Clement Freud, and Sheila Hancock and Kenneth Williams have yet to score. In fact, Kenneth has yet to speak. So, Kenneth, we're going to hear from you now, and the subject which you're going to start with is Monday. Would you talk to us about Monday for 60 seconds, starting now?
You are certainly going to hear the truth. On Monday, I drove on a circuitous route, extremely dangerous one, which is used for training people in the Monte Carlo Rally, and in the process saw 2 horrible accidents, all the way from the Haute Var down, down, down.
Clement Freud challenged.
Repetition?
You would say hesitation or something. I thought they were very kind. They didn't challenge on the second down. They waited for a third one.
Such a good story. I can't imagine him on that course.
No, going down and down and down. Clement, you challenged, and I agree, and you have, therefore, 34 seconds left on Monday, starting now.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week, because that's the night my sweetheart and I used to dance cheek to cheek. Monday, Friday gets past, and then another week is past.
Because he's discussing Monday, he's discussing other days.
He's discussing Saturday, yes,
No, it wasn't.
Well, we couldn't hear it anyway, so if you...
Well, you must listen.
I was listening.
I
still
heard
couldn't
Saturday
hear
night
it.
is the loneliest night of the
Yeah,
week,
we're
and all
talking
that
about Monday,
stuff
that's
about
all
my baby.
Monday.
Nothing to do with Monday, and I'd rather get back to me going down.
I I think you quite clearly established at the beginning that you were talking about Saturday because you said Saturday is the loneliest night of the year, and I therefore think Kenneth's challenge is justified, and he has 29 seconds now on Monday, starting now.
And eventually I reached the city of Draguignan, which will be known to all the erudite among you as the legendary home of Clemenceau of France, one of the great prime ministers of that country, who is accompanied by Lloyd George and Q.
Sheila Hancock's challenge.
Is he deviating a bit? It doesn't seem to be much about Monday, does it?
No, I don't know where she...
This is where I was on Monday in Draguignan, which is the home of Clemenceau, Prime Minister of France.
Yes, you went there on Monday, but now we're off about Lloyd George and Clemenceau and Draguignan.
Well, that's better than starting at the beginning, which is all me drip dries and all that stuff.
If you come back to Monday and establish that it's only on a Monday you were doing this, then I would have allowed it, but I disagree. I give it to Sheila. You have 9 seconds on Monday, starting now.
My washing occupies most of that day. I put it in the machine and stand and watch it going round, and then I hang it out on the line and...
Sheila, at the end of that round, you have leapt into the lead.
Oh!
Alongside Peter Jones and Clement Freud. And Sheila Hancock, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is whitewash. Would you talk to us on whitewash for 60 seconds, starting now?
A long while ago, this was something I was quite fond of. I liked the look of white walls, but one day I woke up and felt as though I was living inside a deep freeze, and I went out and I bought a lot of wallpaper and covered the whitewash. However, if you want to engage in doing this thing, I will tell you how to start. You get a sort of brush thing that rolls backwards and forwards. Pour your paint into a little tray and rub it up and down the wall. It is rather dodgy, however, when you get to the ceilings, because it's apt to drop on your hair. The thing to do is to wear a large hat. Another form of whitewashing is when people...
Peter Jones is challenged.
It's not a good idea to wear a large hat because you can't see the ceiling that you're painting. If you wear a large hat.
You don't have to see it, you know it's there.
You could wear a large hat like a mitre and you'd still see the ceiling.
You don't need to see it anyway because you know where it is. It's above you. You just do that, you see, with your hat down. Don't look at it.
And now you know why she decided to change the whitewash in her house. Because of the mess that she
There was a young lady from Ealing who walked upside down on the ceiling.
I don't wish to hear that kind of lipstick.
As it grows, and then I suppose it's a very peculiar feeling.
Well, after that little interlude, ladies and gentlemen, I have to announce that Sheila Hancock gets a point for an incorrect challenge.
Yeah,
to keep the subject of whitewash, she has 22 seconds left, starting...
have I really? Oh, you didn't say go, did you?
No, I said no.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Peter
say.
Jones got in.
Hesitation.
Yes, a very long hesitation.
I was waiting for you to say go.
Actually, you spoiled your chances because you said, as I said no.
While you were saying no, yeah.
So, Peter, I've got to be fair, you get a point for a correct challenge. Shut up, Sheila. There are 19 seconds left on whitewash, starting now.
You can use a brush and a bucket. That's the only equipment you need, and gallons of this stuff.
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
A brush and a bucket is not all you need.
You did some whitewash as well, Peter. And Clement Freud has the subject of whitewash, and there are 14 seconds left, starting now.
In the game of darts, in which each team tries to score 301...
Peter Jones is challenged. Why?
A deviation. Nothing to do with whitewash. Game of darts.
Yes, now this is always my problem, but they do start off very definitely on another subject. How do I know when they're going to get to the subject on the card?
Well, he's only got 9 seconds from the start, so he can't...
So I think I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, come on.
I think you've got to establish
Whitewash is a darts term.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, I'm ignorant of
Well, if
darts.
you've never heard of it, it is a darts term.
You get letters about this, you know. I should be writing most of them.
I think a few dart players have been writing and sending in their points. Therefore, don't be sick in the audience, please.
I think if you don't know...
Was the young lady of Ealing, or what? Right, Clement Freud, you have a whitewashed point there, and there are 11 seconds on the subject starting now.
When one team has won a game before the other has started, it is called a whitewash, and is incredibly ignominious to the loser, who has to go to the bar and buy drinks for all those...
Just shows you to be chairman of this game, you have to be up in absolutely everything. Now, Clement Freud, at the end of that round, you have gained a very commanding lead over Sheila Hancock and Peter Jones, who are equal in second place, and they are just a little ahead of Kenneth, who is in fourth place. And Peter Jones, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is noughts and crosses. Can you go on that subject, or discourse on that subject, for 60 seconds starting now?
Well, you need 2 players at least, and some paper and pencil.
Sheila Hancock is challenged. Why?
You don't need 2 players. I play it on my own. Truly, I do.
That's very
I sort of
devious.
try and forget what I've done. I do
That's
it very
deviation.
quickly.
But actually, Sheila...
Well, I think schizophrenia is a very delicate subject. And I shouldn't like to introduce it.
I'm inclined to give you a bonus point for that answer, actually, Peter.
Well,
anyway, actually, you're going to get a point because I disagree with Sheila Challenge. And there are 54 seconds left on noughts and crosses starting now.
You draw 2 horizontal lines, and then you draw 2 vertical ones.
Kenneth Williams is challenged. Why?
Repetition, you draw.
Yes, you draw, and you can't have 2 lots of draws in this game. It becomes only repetition, but almost deviation. Kenneth, you have the subject of noughts and crosses, and there are 47 seconds left, starting now.
A nought signifies, of course, nothing, and the cross generally means multiplication. Now, I'm very good at all this, and when I'm in shops and they say, oh, gracious, what a lot I've got to add up here, I don't know how I'm going to manage. I always say, just pass it over to me, dear, I'll get the old brain working on it, and within no time at all, I'll give them the answer. I have been referred to as a sort of universal calculator. She's done a very good nation with marks, but wax Ulysses on the eardrum in order to pass your siren safely. And all these things can be...
Sheila Hancock is challenged.
Deviation. He's talking rubbish.
He really isn't. It sounds like rubbish.
And I've heard him refer to a lot of things, but not as a whatever he said.
Yes, a human calculator. I think that was pretty devious, yes. I bet nobody in any shop has ever said to Kenneth Williams, you are a human calculator! Yes, I disagree with that. Sheila, you have 8 seconds for noughts and crosses starting now.
You do need pencils or pens with which to fill in.
Kenneth Williams is
Well, about all this, you need pencils and pens, and you've got to draw like so dreary.
We've had it, actually, Kenneth, but we haven't had it from Sheila.
No.
Sheila, I disagree with the challenge, so you have 4 seconds left for noughts and crosses starting now.
And you make your noughts going across on a diagonal or...
North going across on a diagonal. Sheila Hancock has leapt forward at the end of that round into a very definite second place behind Clement Freud. Peter's now definitely in third place, and Kenneth is still definitely in fourth place. And Kenneth, it's your turn to begin, and the subject, I'm sure Ian's thought of it specially for you, is Quintus Horatius Flaccus Horace. You don't want to talk about...
Flaxus.
Flaccus?
2 C's, dear. As
There's
an
2
accident.
C's, but I still pronounce it as Flaccus.
Oh, you're wrong.
Surely Flaxus would be F-L-A-C-S-U-S.
Well, then why should ACC in accident be accident, then?
I'm not an
Why wasn't
etymologist.
Flaxus the god of wine?
I never said leave meaning. Who won't have it down on the ceiling? My mother said...
You've given me the answer. It was the young lady from Ealing. She had an accident.
I see it.
Yes. But I'm not an etymologist, and I've no doubt it's to do with the fact that accident is derived from the Latin. Now, Kenneth, would you talk on this character for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, like a friend, familiarly convey the nicest truth in the easiest way was a compliment paid by our own poet, Pope, to this gentleman, Horace, who was, of course, a Roman, and it is said forebears were slaves. So, you see, he...
Clement Freud, you've challenged. Why?
Bears can't be slaves. It's deviation.
He didn't say that, did he?
4 bears were slain.
Right, we
Mama
get
bear,
Because you
Papa
can't help
bear.
laughing, can you?
You can't help admiring his ingenuity. So what we do is we give him a bonus point for a clever challenge, but leave the subject with Kenneth Williams. He didn't deviate from the subject on the card of Quintus Horatius, something else, Horace. Starting now.
Well, he was the friend of the Emperor, of course, not always the Emperor in his lifetime.
Clement Freud got in first.
Repetition of Emperor.
Yes, I saw all their fingers go on their buzzers, but Clemens eliminated the other two, because the first one to press eliminates the other buzzers, by the way, if you wanted to know that. Glad you're so... 28 seconds are left for Quintus Horatius Flaccus Horace Clement, starting now.
In the pursuit of my classical studies, both at preparatory school and at later times in my education, I never knew...
Deviation, we don't want all this biographical rubbish about schooling. Well, the subject is Horace, not his prep school.
Well, actually, I must be fair. You see, I do happen to know he did have a classical education. So obviously Horace probably came into it somewhere. So I don't think, even at this stage, he was deviating from the subject on the card, Kenneth. So he gets a point for a wrong challenge, and there are 20 seconds left. Starting now.
I permanently referred to the poet Horace as Quintus Horatius Flaccus Horace because it took up more time, and lessons in those days, you will recall, were...
Kenneth Williams...
Deviation, we're still on the side of his schooling, not on the side of Horace.
No, he said that he was...
Taking up more time pronouncing his name, yes.
Yes, he's being very clever, isn't he?
Not considering the education he's had, I don't think he is.
We have not had a mention of the iambic, we've not had a mention of the hexameters, we've not had a mention of the satires or the epistles or any of the odes.
Wait!
He's just been going on about his prep school.
You keep buzzing me.
About that, do we?
I wanted to talk about heroic couplets. You keep buzzing me.
Oh, sorry.
I'm so delighted I didn't have to do it. Clement and Kenneth have made it up. They kissed and made up. So, Clement, you have the subject. 5 seconds left, starting now.
The Latin language lends itself terribly well to the heroic couplet hexameter.
So Clement Freud did really very cleverly keep going on Horace in that round, and I have to be fair and accurate, and so he has leapt right forward and leaving the other three somewhat behind. Clement Freud, we're back with you, playing the market. Can you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
Quintus Horatius Flaccus Horace.
Kenneth Williams.
This is plain deviation. I'm simply not having it. I'm not going to sit here idly while people just go round and round the subject. I mean, what's Horace going to do with playing the
Well,
market?
he probably played the market in Roman times for all we know.
Get out of it. He was a poet on a Sabine farm.
Well, I mean,
He kept
Clement
Sabine
Freud
sheep.
considers himself a bit of a poet, and he plays the market. Ladies and gentlemen, let you, with us, your superior intelligence and knowledge and wisdom, be the final judge. I must be fair, Kenneth did challenge very, very rapidly before Clement had a chance to establish anything. But if you agree with Kenneth's challenge, you can boo, which means Kenneth gets the point. But if you disagree with his challenge, you cheer and you all do it together now. I think... Quiet. All right, the boos have it. Kenneth, they're on your side. They obviously want to hear from you about playing the market. You have a point and 55 seconds for the subject, starting now.
Well, the last time I played the market, I got a wonderful reception. In fact, they made me a present of Mornington Crescent and threw it a brick at a time. I was an enormous success in markets in Malaya and India, and of course, leave us not forget the new territories area of China, where I was an enormous success as the British.
Sheila Hancock has challenged. Right.
Deviation, I just don't believe all this.
You mean you don't believe that he was a great success in the markets of Red China?
Oh, not really, no.
Nor do I.
Fair enough.
Sheila Peter Jones, what do you want to say?
Well, I know somebody who actually saw his performance, and it embarrasses me to go into it. I'd rather rather not say anything, actually. I won't say a word. That's the best thing. The most discreet thing I can do is to button up and be absolutely silent about it.
You have been for the last 5 minutes, Peter.
Yes.
It's very nice to have heard from you. All right, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, because it appears, thanks to Peter Jones's verification, that you do play in a market there. So you have 35 seconds on the markets of Kowloon. No, playing the market. Starting now.
I had cars that are so honest in Cairo, and when I was there in 1936, I left my wristwatch on the lamppost. And the other bloke said, when you went back, was it still there? And I was supposed to say, no, the lamppost wasn't, but the watch was. And I said the lamppost was, but the watch wasn't, which was very funny, because it ruined his work, you see. And he had this killed, and he made up an S.
Yes, there was a young lady of Ealing. Sheila, you have challenged.
Now, deviation, that isn't anything to do with playing the market, is it?
Well, why don't you have him on repetition? He said the...
Repetition, yes, that's what I meant.
I think I agree, actually. I agree even on deviation, that he's not playing the market now. He's fooling about in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Sheila, I'm with you on this one. You have a point and you have 14 seconds on playing the market starting now.
Take it in the sense that you mean the stock market. I am singularly unsuccessful at this. I've only ventured it twice, and both times the firm went bankrupt. So therefore, my bank manager said to me, will you do me a favour and not...
Well, everybody gained points in that round, except Clement Freud, but he's still very much in the lead. Sheila, your turn to begin. The subject is sweet peas. Would you talk to us on that delightful subject for 60 seconds starting now?
These are the ones that come straight from the pod in the early pickings. They really are sweet. And to make them even more so, you add a drop of sugar with the mint when you boil them. Also, they are a most adorable flower with a perfume that's unbelievable. At the moment in the country, they're all blooming, and it's a lovely sight. They're all colours of the rainbow, and they're...
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
They're not.
What?
All colours of the rainbow.
No, I don't think they are all. I don't think they're blooming now either, Sheila.
They are.
The sweet peas are blooming in Gloucestershire.
Right, there was a young lady who walked on a greenhouse ceiling. Right, Clement, I agree with your challenge. The subject is sweet peas. You have 31 seconds left, starting now.
Sweet peas are flowers which are very seldom given to people as buttonholes because orchids, daffodils and rhododendrons are considered more suitable. I find
Peter Jones has challenged.
Absolute rubbish. Of course they aren't. Rhododendrons aren't suitable as buttonholes.
Of course, I've
Whoever
never
thought
had a
they were?
rhododendron in the buttonhole. If a sweet pea's not suitable, there's certainly a rhododendron isn't.
Depends on the button.
It depends on the hole, too. A great
the sweet pea.
Nick, are you challenging me?
You can add...
Yes. No, I agree with Peter Jones's challenge. If a sweet pea
on
is...
your proclivities.
The program is breaking up. Have you noticed?
Ages ago it broke
Come
up.
on outside.
I wasn't aware that actually that particular moment that Kenneth Williams was actually speaking rather quietly in one of his character voices. If the listeners at home heard him, I apologise for speaking together, but we'll just carry on as best we can. Clement, I agree with Peter's challenge, so he gets the subject of sweet peas, and there are 20 seconds left, starting now.
Sweet peas were, believe it or not, first cultivated in Wem in Shropshire, where I was born, by a firm called Eckford's florists. They're out of business now, so I'm not advertising them. And they made the mistake of selling seconds, which they distributed very cheaply, and then everybody in the world who wanted to grow
Well, Peter Jones was speaking at the end of that round, so he gained the extra point. And alas, with sweet peas, we have to wind up the show because we have no more time. To tell you the final result, Kenneth Williams was only just in fourth place, 1 point behind Peter Jones, who just went into third place again on the last round. He was 2 points behind Sheila Hancock, who was quite a number of points behind this week's undoubted winner, Clement Freud. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and will want to tune in again next time. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye.
chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Mester and produced by Simon Brent.
We present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones and Amy MacDonald in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome to Just a Minute, and it is a great pleasure to welcome back Amy MacDonald, who's going to try and pit her wits and her ability against these three experienced male and regular players of the game. And as usual, I'm going to ask them to speak, if they can, for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject on the card which is in front of me. And we're going to begin the show this week with Clement Freud. Clement, would you talk to us on my opinion for 60 seconds starting now?
It is my opinion that this game, called Just a Minute, is being run entirely the wrong way. To begin with, the panelists should be far better and more serious people. But even leaving them aside, the audience here is an absolute disgrace. At the very least, they could come here.
Kenneth Williams has challenged you.
This is a disgrace. He's supposed to speak on the subject of my opinion, and he's libelling in this lovely house. I mean, look at lovely house, that beautiful people. They're all glowing here with welcome and goodwill written over them. And I think it's a disgrace that he should libel them.
Well, I have to give the decision to Clement Freud because...
very much indeed. So it's my subject.
No!
Well,
Kenneth Williams! While I agree with you wholeheartedly about our audience, and maybe it is tactless to malign them in that way, Clement Freud was not deviating from my opinion because that was his opinion. So he gains a point for a wrong challenge. He keeps the subject. 40 seconds to go. My opinion, Clement, starting now.
It is my opinion that a studio audience would wear black shoes, somber socks, dark shirts, and a tie befitting of the seriousness of this occasion.
Amy MacDonald has challenged. Why?
It's
deviation.
Yes, that's
because it's
what
not a serious show.
Exactly.
Well done, Amy MacDonald. You've got a point for a correct challenge. And you have 29 seconds on my opinion, Amy, starting now.
Well, my opinion doesn't normally hold much weight. But one day a friend of mine came to me and said, look, I've got to go to this wedding and I've got to find a hat. And she thought for some strange unknown reason I would know all about hats. So I said to Lavinia, that was her name, okay, I'll come with you. So we both set off one day to look for this thing you put on your hat.
Clement Freud is challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes. How mean could you...
Yes, ungallant, wasn't it? Ungallant. There she was. She was in the middle of her flow, wasn't she? She was just getting underway.
She searched for...
I don't know how you could do that, Clement. I don't know, honestly, how you could do that.
I did it quite easily.
And so, Clement, whatever we feel about your challenge, it was a correct one, so you take the subject back, and there are 5 seconds to go on my opinion, starting now.
It is my opinion that there ought to be more beautiful people here.
How to alienate an audience and get them to clap at the same time. Well, as you know, when the whistle goes, it tells us that 60 seconds is up, and whoever is speaking at that particular moment gains an extra point, and in spite of the booze, it was Clement Freud. Clement, you have a lead at the end of the first round, and Kenneth Williams, you begin the next round. The subject, nosy Parkers. The audience seemed to like the idea of that subject with you, Kenneth, so will you go on it for 60 seconds, starting now?
The man that gave his name to this expression was renowned in a place called Dun or Dun, depending on how we interpret the signs or hieroglyphics on the appropriate piece of paper or ivory card, as it is known in the trade. This place is in the United Provinces, in the northern part of India, and I had the privilege of serving there with Her Majesty's forces, and therefore heard about this man's...
Clement Freud is challenged. Why?
Deviation.
Why?
They were His Majesty's services at the time that Kenneth Williams...
Very clever. You've already got a partisan audience. They're cheering for Kenneth.
You're not going to allow that, are you, Nicholas? You're not going to allow that, are you? You're not going to allow that,
He's come out of his seat to intimidate me. To physically intimidate me, listeners. I have to agree with the correct challenge and say Clement Freud has a point and the subject, and there are 27 seconds on Nosy Parker's Clement starting now.
In the 6th row of the audience, there is one particular Nosy Parker whose name it would be very wrong to disclose. But as soon as I came in, she looked at me...
Peter Jones, the challenge.
Well, he's not talking about Nosy Parkers in the plural. He has chosen one particular Nosy Parker in the audience.
Peter, it's a subtle challenge, but the point is, if the subject's in the plural, it is obvious you can take a singular version of it.
It's obvious?
Yes, I think so.
Yes,
you talk about...
Oh, why is it a subtle challenge if it's obvious?
I suppose the thought was subtle, but the challenge was not. Clement Freud, you are with Nosy Parker still, and 17 seconds left, starting now.
Does your mother take in washing? Has she sold her mango?
Kenneth Williams.
Deviation. This has nothing to do with the subject.
All right, Kenneth.
Does your mother take in washing? It's total deviation.
Well, it's a sort of remark a Nosy Parker might make.
Nonsense. A Nosy Parker does not question in that fashion.
Well,
a Nosy Parker endeavours to find out what your business is.
And that's what they were doing.
And not what's your mother's business. Your mother's business. I mean, you can't get your words out, can you? I hadn't got it out, had I? He was straight in there like a flash.
If I let you get all your words out, nobody else will ever speak on this programme, Kenny.
Oh, they are painting a most unfair picture.
The point is,
Now,
Kenneth,
I'm no
trying to be fair as I have to be, you
Right,
can
sir.
say that by inquiring about your mother's business, you could also be a Nosy Parker and a subtle way of finding out about your business. And you were saying a Nosy Parker is a little bit more subtle. I tell you what I'll do is you'll give me an impossible decision to make. I will be fair and put it to the audience.
No, I should give it to him. I know what the audience is like.
Now realise, Clement, that perhaps it doesn't always pay to alienate your
It
audience.
never ever pays.
Well, let us see, shall we? Do you agree with Kenneth Williams' last challenge? If you agree with Kenneth, churn. If you disagree, boo, and all do it together now. They're 100% behind Kenneth Williams. So, Kenneth, you have the subject 13 seconds on 14 seconds Nosy Parker's starting now.
This gentleman, as I say, made my acquaintance. Is it, would rather speak.
Clement Freud is challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, but he, it was so close, wasn't it? We'll give him the benefit of the doubt to Kenneth Williams on this occasion and tell him that he has 9 seconds on Nosy Parker starting now.
He said, would you care to drink with me a Carews gin, which is not the same as any kind that is manufactured or made, as perhaps Clement Freud would prefer me to express it in this country.
Go on, admit it. Come on, come out with it. I'm in the lead now.
Behind Clement Freud.
Oh.
So we go on to the next round. Peter Jones, your turn to begin. The story I have never told anyone. Would you talk about that for just 1 minute, starting now?
Yes, well, I think it is high time that I revealed it. It began in the ladies' cloakroom at Broadcasting House.
Amy MacDonald is challenged. Why?
Deviation. He wouldn't be in the ladies' cloakroom, would he?
That would be very devious if he was.
Yes.
Yes. But he said the story began. No, he said he was there, did he?
He was in the ladies'
Well, that is utterly devious.
Well, that's why I've never told it before.
Peter, of course, we realise that's the reason you never told it before, but I must agree with Amy, it is a devious situation and a devious thought, and therefore...
Well, I don't think it's devious.
But it's not
within the
deviating
meaning
from the
of
story I've never told anyone, so therefore, it's very difficult. You see how my problems, don't you?
Yes, you just give me a bonus point and tell me to get on with it, that's all.
Shall I take my challenge back?
No, you don't take it. It's a wrong challenge. It was a good challenge, but incorrect, Amy. So Peter has a point for an incorrect challenge. He has 48 seconds on the story I've never told anyone, starting now.
And I was joined by the BBC Northern Orchestra. And they said, what are we going to do? A lady's coming up the stairs. Well, this placed me in a very embarrassing position. Fortunately, the phone was working. So I dialed a number wildly, not really being able to recall the particular digits which would connect me with the caretaker or the porter down in the reception hall, which I happen to know was full of other orchestra players.
Clement Freud is challenged.
Repetition of orchestra.
Yes, what a pity.
Yes, pity really, yes.
Devious story, but Clement Freud got in with 6 seconds to go on the story I've never told anyone, starting now.
It was on a Tuesday evening in Romilly Street in the centre.
Kenneth Williams is challenged. Why?
I don't believe any Tuesday evening Romilly Street was singing about waiting for anything to happen.
It might be every Tuesday in Romilly Street, and you never know, do you?
I just don't think it has the ring of truth about it. I've got to go on instinct. I don't work on
Well, all right, Kenneth, you may go on instinct, but he's still not deviating from the subject. The
Do
story...
you mean to say you're giving it to him?
I have to be fair. The story...
But it's only a few seconds to go. If you give it to me, I might leap into the lead.
I know. That's what everybody thinks that they can get in just before the whistle goes. But I'm afraid it was a wrong challenge, so Clement Freud has another point, and he has the subject for another 2 seconds, the story I've never told anyone, starting now.
Listen very carefully.
That's ended that round with the unintentional aiding of others. Clement Freud has increased his lead over everybody else. Amy MacDonald, your turn to begin. A lovely subject that Ian Messett has thought of for you to talk on, being desirable. Would you talk about that for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, being desirable is rather a difficult thing to be because you have...
Peter Jones is challenged.
Well, I don't agree. I mean, it quite obviously
just
isn't.
because you are desirable.
Oh, well, that's very sweet of you. Look, you can have my point any time you like.
She's got a point for an incorrect choice. And she keeps it, and there are 55 seconds on being desirable, Amy, starting now.
But there are times when you just... Do you know that feeling? You just know you're desirable.
Clement Freud is challenged.
I take it back. Repetition of just.
Yes, I know, and it was very unjust.
I thought it was me.
Very unjust, yes. And this is just a minute, so you can say just only in this round only. So there's 50 seconds left on being desirable, Amy, starting now.
I mean, there are days when you feel positively undesirable, and that's very bad. But then you get moments when you just know it's all happening. For instance, if you have a boyfriend and he takes you out for the first time, and he likes
Clement Freud is challenged.
Deviation.
Why?
I wouldn't have a boyfriend who took me out for the first time. She's asking us to suppose.
What does she ask you to suppose?
If you have a boyfriend and he takes you out for the first time.
Yeah, but if Amy MacDonald says, if you have a boyfriend who takes you out for the first time, it is perfectly natural, normal, and not devious when Amy says it.
Thank you. Can I carry on now, please?
Yes, you've got another point, Amy. No, don't worry. These wrong challenges give you more points.
Oh, good. How many is that now?
You've got 4. You've leapt into a very strong second place behind our leader.
And how many seconds have I got to go?
You have got 35 seconds to go.
Oh.
Do you want to
I
know
think
what
it's
the
worth your while going on with it, Amy.
Would you like to know what the subject is as well?
Oh, yes, please.
Good. Being desirable.
Thank you.
Starting now.
Now, and he takes you out, as I was saying before. Now, you just know when
Kenneth Williams is challenged. What?
Repetition, she says, as she was saying
No, but
before.
I've said
and
that.
indeed, she has said it before, so we're all
Yes,
sick
but I
and tired of
apologise.
hearing it.
All right.
You're just jealous, Kenneth.
Yes, you're so right.
You have another point, and you have 30 seconds on being desirable, Amy, starting now.
Thank you. The point you get to when you really...
Kenneth Williams
She
is
said
challenged.
point twice. Twice we had before. It was point, she said twice before.
I was talking about a different point.
Well, as I wouldn't allow Clements just, I'd better not allow your point and let her keep the subject still with another point. And there are 27 seconds on being desirable, Amy, starting now.
When he leans across the table to light your cigarette, and the cigarette lighter shakes.
Kenneth Williams.
2 cigarettes.
Yes, I think we must allow the cigarette.
Oh, no, one was a cigarette and one was a cigarette lighter.
I know, but it was too late. I'm sorry, it wasn't too late, but I thought you were going to say a cigar. But no, you did say the word cigarette twice.
Cigarette lighter is hyphenated.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
You see, I didn't know that.
No, it's not. Shut your mouth.
All right, then, it is hyphenated.
She can say cigarette holder as well.
What's going on here?
The audience, do you think there's a, if you think there's a hyphen between cigarettes and a chair,
They don't
and if
know
you
nothing
don't,
from
we'll all do
nothing.
it together now.
Look at him. Come from Sheffield.
Nothing! Right. The audience say Amy MacDonald has it, and she has 19 seconds on being desirable, starting now.
And the apparatus in his hand begins to wobble.
I've not come here to listen to a load of filth. It's perfectly obvious why she's succeeding on this day, and half of them are women. Look at them. Waves of them rolling. Look at the flesh going. It's disgusting, isn't it?
What's the challenge, Kenneth?
Well, all this deviation about him sitting opposite her with apparatus. One minute he's taking her out to dinner, the next minute they're in a chemical laboratory.
Well, if you've got to think of another word for cigarette lighter, even if it is hyphenated. An apparatus is quite a good word to use, isn't it?
Well, it's obvious what side you're on.
If apparatus means something else to you, then I'm very sorry, Kenneth. 15 seconds with you, Amy, on being desirable, starting now.
Then you know you must be desirable. If, however, the thing he's holding...
Chairman Freud is challenged.
I thought she hesitated holding her thing.
It was the man who was holding the thing.
Yes, but there was definite hesitation there.
Yes, he did hesitate. I'm not surprised in such a situation. I think Amy MacDonald has become quite beyond continuing anyway. So we'll give you a hesitation for that, Clement, with 10 seconds on being desirable, starting now. Amy MacDonald is challenged.
Hesitation.
Absolutely right, Amy. 4 seconds he paused with the thought of him being desirable. And so, Amy, you have 5 seconds to go on being desirable, starting now.
Another thing you notice is little beads of water on the man's foot.
I think, dear mister, you must be much more careful in the subjects you choose for this game. Especially, if you started with Clement Freud on being desirable, that would have been different. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of that round, you will not be surprised to hear that in spite of a little encouragement from the chairman and help from the others, Amy MacDonald has very definitely leapt into the lead. Clement, it is your turn to begin, and this subject is poses. Can you talk on that subject for just a minute, starting now?
If you stand on a plinth with your hands raised high and your feet apart, many would say that you are striking a pose. On the other hand, if you lie down on a foot, that also would be posing.
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Hesitation.
As I would agree with that
It's
hesitation.
such a boring subject, isn't it? Poses.
Yes, but there we are. We have the desirable ones, and we have the... Kenneth Williams is now striking a pose to get in the mood to talk for 44 seconds on the subject, starting now.
During the period when there was what we would now describe as an epidemic in London, but what was then discussed as something other, in other words, the plague, judges in the courts of England were asked to bear with them and their retinue a handful...
Peter Jones is challenged.
Hesitation.
Shut your row, you know. What a nerve, isn't it? I mean, really just there.
What deviation?
Stand with Tom.
hesitation.
Yeah, but you can have it for hesitation.
Oh,
but you
you're wonderful, you are. There's only one thing you can't do, and that's behave like a gentleman. I'm renowned. I've had letters, dearie. I've had letters saying, what a gent. What a gent you are. I've had letters. Have you had letters to that effect? No, that's why you've got red. Look at his face. No manners at all.
Which person wrote all those letters?
Oh, some nasty old man he always meets outside.
Peter, you have a correct challenge, and you have 25 seconds on poses starting now.
They're what really killed the music hall in England. They used to have nudes standing about with nothing on. Often they were accompanied by a rather grandiose commentary, and they aped the positions of the models in famous pictures, like the,
Clement Freud's challenge.
Hesitation.
1 second on poses with you, Clement, starting now.
Pose as a gentleman.
And having got in cleverly before the whistle went, I'm afraid Clement Freud has once again taken the lead.
What do you mean you're afraid?
Yes, you're quite right. What do you mean, I'm afraid?
Well, he's afraid of what the audience will do to him.
Thank you very much, Peter. That was one of the things I was afraid of. Kenneth Williams, your turn to begin. The subject, King Harold, 60 seconds, starting now.
Well, I suppose every schoolboy knows about this classic battle which took place actually not in Hastings, a little outside, and the occasion...
Amy MacDonald's challenge, why?
Why does he put on that funny voice?
I don't know, but what's your challenge?
I just wanted to know, is it because it sort of elongates everything he's trying to say?
Are you challenging for hesitation?
I suppose.
Yes, to widen his range and get different kinds of work.
It was sufficiently elongated to be hesitation. I thought he'd actually paused. So, Amy, I agree with that challenge.
Yes, it's the way
Yes,
you talk.
all right, I'm with you.
Kenneth, you shouldn't talk like that, you know.
Oh, I like him talking like that.
Yes, but it does bring in pauses on occasion, so there are 47 seconds for you on King Harold. Amy MacDonald, starting now.
I don't know very much about King Harold.
Kenneth Williams, a
She
challenge.
knows nothing about me. Why don't you just shut her mouth? Let me discuss it.
So, what is your challenge?
Deviation.
Well, I'm afraid it wasn't, because even if you don't know much about it, you've still got to try and keep going, so she has another point, and 44 seconds for King Harold starting now.
I'm quite sure he was a very powerful man, and probably wore one of those ruggy things all the time. You know?
Kenneth Williams' challenge, why?
I think the entire audience in this theatre would like to know what is one of those ruddy things.
Well, what is your challenge?
Deviation.
Oh,
What is this term, and why is she using it? I mean, if she can't talk in plain English, then we're all obviously wasting our time here. She's already questioned my delivery, and all I can say is her sitting there going, oh, it's just... I mean, we've had all this powder and get
So what's your
apparatus
challenge?
now.
What's your challenge?
I mean, what about all the apparatus and the eyeballs?
What's your challenge?
Deviation.
No, she didn't actually say what the thing he was wearing, but she said it was one of those funny things or something like that. 37 seconds on King Harold, Amy, starting now.
It's usually made of wool when it's not knitted and just hangs out in little bits.
Clement Freud's challenge, why?
Well, she stopped.
I know she did. So you have a point in the 37...
did I do?
You stopped, in other words, you
I
paused.
was letting the laugh go.
I know, but when Clement Freud let the laugh go on a very good thing, we paused for 4 seconds,
no,
and you got in on him. No, I must be fair. You got in on him on that occasion. So 30 seconds on King Harold with you, Clement, starting now.
William the Conqueror was said to have won that battle of Hastings in the year 1066. And there are many who would agree, because as a result of the Norman conquest, the English language was debased and became a sort of French...
Peter Jones.
Hesitation.
Yes, I would agree. 13 seconds for you, Peter, on King Harold starting now.
Picture the scene on this battlefield just outside the famous resort of Eastbourne. And there, with the green fields stretching out as far as the eye could see...
Peter Jones Jones was then speaking when the whistle went, so he gained the extra point for speaking at that particular moment. Well, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, we have no more time to play Just a Minute. So let me give you the final score at the end of this particular game. Kenneth Williams finished only just in 4th place, 2 points behind Peter Jones, who was in 3rd place, who was 4 points behind Clement Freud, who was only 1 point behind our new and giggly and delightful and pretty winner, Amy MacDonald. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and will want to tune in again next time. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by Simon Brett. We present Kenneth Williams, Clement Freud, Peter Jones and Andre Melly in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome to Just a Minute. And once again, we're delighted to welcome back into the 4th seat Andre Melly to pit her wits against our 3 regular male competitors in Just a Minute. And once again, I'm going to ask them to speak, if they can, for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and, of course, without deviating from the subject on the card in front of me. And we're going to begin the show this week with Peter Jones. Peter, would you talk about the multitude? The multitude for 60 seconds, starting now.
Well, that has a kind of biblical ring about it. Reminds me of the meal of loaves and fishes. But nowadays, it really refers to the great mass of people who decide what kind of entertainment is going to be provided on television, for instance. 1/3 of them usually answer the Gallup pollster yes, and the other section of an equal size say no, and a last and final cross.
Oh, Andre Melly challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, he couldn't try and divide the sections and portions and departments up. But well tried, Peter. You did keep going for 32 seconds without being interrupted. I agree with Andre's challenge of hesitation, so she gets a point. She takes over the subject. 28 seconds on the multitude, starting now.
I think that one could use this word not only in the context of people, but perhaps insects, locusts, for instance. One might refer to a great amount of these. Oh.
Peter Jones has challenged.
Hesitation.
Yes, I agree. Yes, more of a dry up than a hesitation. But there are 13 seconds now on the multitude with you, Peter, starting now.
This other group of people usually say they don't know, but I would like to make this appeal to them. All these individuals whom one masses together in this...
Whoever is speaking when the whistle goes, and as you know, the whistle tells us that 60 seconds up gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Peter Jones who started with the subject, and therefore he has a commanding lead at the end of the first round. In fact, Clement Freud and Kenneth Williams have hardly to speak yet. Andre Melly, will you begin this one? The present I most like to receive. Would you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
The present I most like to receive is one that I give to myself. Then I know it's going to be something I really want, and I don't have to get my face ready with that expression of rapturous delight when somebody else gives you a gift and you have that sinking feeling you're going to hate it. I am lucky enough to have several things which I bestow upon me, because, for example, my mother...
Clement Freud has challenged.
It's deviation of grammar. You bestow it on yourself, not on you.
Yes, I think, as we do play this game fairly toughly, that it's probably a legitimate challenge, and you have a point, Clement, and the subject. 34.5 seconds on the present I most like to receive, starting now.
The present I most like to receive is wine. And I don't care at all whether this beverage comes from Austria or Germany, Yugoslavia, Romania, nay, even California. France produces this stuff in Burgundy as well as in Bordeaux, and I think that of the latter province, known as claret in this country, I like more than other. In fact, if anybody asks me what the present I would most like to receive is, it is not sack, definitely not beer, not even cider.
He was challenged on the buzzer, but he just got in time. I don't know what, I think it was Andre challenged. What was it going to be? But
there were 3 knots within the last half second.
There were. You should have
never thought of them little words.
You should have got him. Clement, you gained the point for speaking when the whistle went. You have now crept up on Peter Jones, and we have come round to you, Kenneth, a moment that a lot of us wait for with great pleasure in just a minute. Would you talk on people I enjoy for 60 seconds, starting now?
People I enjoy are the kind that can always have recourse to a charming, racy, or amusing anecdote, depending, of course, on one's proclivities in these matters. Mine are manifold, and nothing is more delightful than to have those about me whose mental activity is so full of alacrity and inner joy, and I would add nobility, that the evening seems almost to race by, and one looks at the heavy jowls and the beards that adorn the faces of these colloculators, and one thinks, oh, what a joyous day it was that I first came upon this wonderfully energetic countenance and those eyes, almost sapphire, reminding one in a strange way of the Mediterranean.
Kenneth Williams started with the subject.
I was just being nice. I must have repeated myself somewhere.
No, actually, Kenneth, you didn't. You did it really beautifully and magnificently, and you kept going. I must say, the last 10 seconds was very tense.
Oh.
We were all wondering whether you were going to keep it up. Because,
wasn't tense for me. I was very loose.
You must have a lot of very enjoyable people about you, because I could see from the way you were looking, you were describing their consciousness.
Did you get the reference to Clement?
Yes, we got that.
Yeah.
I also got the reference to me. Anyway, you did magnificently, and of course you get a bonus point for keeping going without stopping. Peter Jones, you will begin the next round. People I don't enjoy. Can you talk on that subject now for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, there aren't so many of them as the ones I do enjoy. But, for instance, when I'm approaching in my car a T-junction and the car coming from my right...
Clement Freud.
2 cars.
Yes, I'm afraid
Yes,
if you're going
I
to
should
talk
have
about
said
motoring...
internal combustion engine or something.
Yes.
Yes, quite.
Automobile or another one,
Yes,
but not a car again. 49 seconds left. People I don't enjoy, Clement, starting now.
People I particularly don't enjoy are those who press buzzers at inopportune moments when I'm in the middle of speaking intelligently about a subject such as people I don't enjoy. As I love Andre Melly very much, I forgive her completely, but there are other people whom I loathe and despise. In particular, the ones who didn't come here today, because last week we had an absolutely rotten audience. I'm so glad that no one is here this evening, because you're all...
Peter Jones has challenged.
He said here, twice. I mean, he said, repeat it here.
And I was pretty nice about the audience doing it.
Yes, we were, very nice.
All right, Peter, that's a very tough challenge. He
It
did
is
say...
very tough, Peter,
But
you know.
if he makes the challenge, I have to be fair within the rules of the game, and he did repeat here. So, Peter, you get the point. 11 seconds for people I don't enjoy, starting now.
And they jostle one in post offices. They push one off the moving...
Clement Freud has challenged.
Repetition of 1.
Yes, you're going to be tough that way. You get a tough one
it's
back,
awkward.
Peter. So 5 seconds now on people I don't enjoy, Clement, starting now.
Let me have men about me who are loose.
How disgusting. come here all the way from King's Cross, a family show.
Kenneth, I'm terribly confused. Last few weeks back, you established that you moved to Baker Street.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
As your comment was devious, obviously your challenge was devious, and therefore it was incorrect, and therefore Clement Freud has another point of the 3 seconds on people I don't enjoy, Clement, starting now.
I don't enjoy people who wear therapeutic sandals at me.
Clement Freud, with the help of some incorrect challenges, managed to gain a number of points in that round, including one after speaking when the whistle went, so he has gained a commanding lead at the end of the round. Andre Melli, back with you, subject playing safe. Would you talk on that for 60 seconds, starting now?
The very best way of playing safe is, I suppose, to be dead. Then you can't have any catastrophe before
Clement Williams has
Oh,
challenged.
deviation, this is ridiculous. Obviously, people who are dead can't play safe, nor can they play anything else, can they?
I think that's a very good thought. Once you're dead, it's finished. You're not playing safe or playing anything, are you?
Yeah.
Well said. All right, Kenneth, you have a point for that. And 42 seconds on playing safe, starting now.
It is, of course, to be so morally neutral and, I would say, in every other sense, that you sit on the fence and, in the process, split yourself right up the middle. Now, various people disapprove of this kind of behaviour, and those who supported the Chamberlain administration and the one that was accused so often of being appeasers during the crisis that blew up over that business with Adolf Hitler.
Clement Melli has challenged you.
He's going on and on and on, all about history, and he's not talking any more about playing safe.
Well, if anybody plays safe,
Chamberlain was playing safe, wasn't he?
Yes,
You're playing it.
all right, Kenneth, I'm supporting you. I think the point he was making was that Chamberlain...
She rushes in and attacks you. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I've noticed you do the same on occasions too, Kenneth.
Only with justification. Only when I am provoked, you see. That's why.
She was provoked then. And she felt that her challenge was justified, but I'm afraid I disagree with her.
Yes.
So you get another point, and you continue with playing safe. 10 seconds starting now.
And I have actually been given banknotes, and people have played safe with me and said, will you look after them on our behalf?
So then Kenneth Williams was speaking when the whistle went, and he has leapt forward at the end of that round, which he loves to do, but alas, only into second place. But he's ahead of Peter Jones and Andre Melli, and Clement Freud, your turn to begin. The subject, striking oil. Would you talk about that? In 60 seconds, starting now.
One of the absolutely certain things about striking oil is that oil will come up. Get a spoon and wham it, bash it, hit it, or animate the surface in any other way, and the result will be a small gusher, which will be exactly as edible or attractive as the substance which you agitated in the first place. There are, at the moment, in the channel around our coasts, a number of companies who are actually looking for oil of...
Peter Jones has challenged.
Well, they're not in the channel. They are looking for oil in the North Sea.
They are certainly looking for oil in the North Sea. I don't know if they're looking for oil in the English
Channel, he said.
Well, all right, there may be companies looking for oil in the Channel. There may be companies we don't know about. You see, this is my problem on decisions. So I think in a situation such as this, I have to put it to the superior wisdom and judgment of our charming and delightful audience.
Well, they don't know whether people are looking for it.
It doesn't matter, Peter. This is the way I get out of an impossible decision. They may not know, they may have no idea at all, but they will give a decision. So if you agree that they are looking for oil in the English Channel, you should...
the English Channel.
He didn't say
No, in the channels around our coast. In other words, if you agree with Peter's challenge, you boo. And if you disagree with his challenge, you cheer. And you all do it together now. You're booing, so what does that mean? You're booing his challenge, so you're with Clement Freud?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, you're with Peter Jones, are you?
But most of them cheered anyway.
Why don't we get a chairman on this program who can think? All right, so,
We might be onto a good thing here. They seem to know where the oil is.
All right. Well, anyway, you've struck oil with this audience, Peter. You have a point because the audience consider your challenge was justified and the subject, and there are 27 seconds on striking oil starting now.
And they're looking for it around the coasts of Australia.
Clement Moyer's challenge.
Deviation.
Why?
The somebody is striking oil, not looking for it.
It doesn't matter. You've got to look for it before you can strike it. Sir Peter Jones has another point, and there are 24 seconds on striking oil starting now.
And any moment now, we may hear the news that they have struck oil there. Now, in America, on one of the film lots around, I think, 20th Century Fox, they discovered, even in the last decade, that they were sitting on a gold mine, in the sense that the oil underneath amounted to the value of several million.
Oh, Peter Jones was then speaking when the whistle went, so he has moved forward in that round and taken second place ahead of Kenneth, but still behind Clement Freud, our leader. And Kenneth, your turn to begin. The English Gog and Magog. One of those delightful subjects that I think Mr. thinks of especially for you. But would you now talk on it for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, these are, of course, the remnant of this race of giants who are descended from this Emperor Diocletian. But there are two effigies, you know, which did stand for some time outside Guildhall, and therefore English Gog and Magog, I think, must specifically refer to these things. They were carved beautifully in a sort of stone, probably Portland, and they represented, I would say, primeval forces. And it's interesting, like gargoyles on a cathedral, how Western man, with his sophisticated and civilized way of life, has on occasion delight in resorting to these symbols of the past, like Gog and Magog, who perhaps cast your imaginative faculties way back into the mists of antiquity, and a writer like Morley, who will discuss druidic customs and things like...
Oh, Clement Freud is challenged.
Repetition of things like...
You rotten thing, you only had 4 seconds to go.
About as long as I wish to talk about Gog and Magog.
Well said, Clement, but yes, we thought for once we were going to have a unique record in just a minute. Somebody was going to keep going on the subject they started with twice in the same show. It didn't quite happen. Clement Freud, you have a point, 4 seconds on the English Gog and Magog, starting now.
I first came across Gog and Magog in a Latin gender rhyme.
So Clement Freud getting in then before the whistle, gained the extra point and increased his lead. At the end of that round, Peter Jones, we're back with you. What I Do at Midnight. Now, why should you laugh at the thought of what Peter Jones might do at midnight? You must have horrid minds, or very unkind ones. Peter Jones, that's the subject. Will you talk on it for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, it's not something that I really want to discuss.
Kenneth Williams, we know what you're going to say.
Yes, quite. Well, if you know what I'm going to say, you need me to say it.
If you haven't said anything...
Well, you presumably are going to tell them. You say you know what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Well, tell them then.
You're going to say, well, if he doesn't know what he's going to say, let him shut up and let me get on with it.
On the contrary, the point of this game is to discuss what you give us on a card, right?
Yes.
He says he doesn't want to discuss it, so I say give the subject to me.
Yes, you put it beautifully.
Yes is the word he was searching for.
But I'm going to discuss...
Oh, why don't you shut your mouth and give someone else a chance? You've done nothing but talk on this show. It's always the same. You come here and dominate it. It's a disgrace. Yes. He said, I don't want to talk about it, he said. That's what he said.
But
if you don't want to talk about it, shut up. I'll have a go.
Even if he doesn't want to talk about it, the object of the game is to try and talk about it, which is exactly what Peter Jones was doing, and he has 56 seconds. So you charge with only 4 seconds in. What I Do at Midnight, Peter, starting now.
Because many people who listen may be overstimulated, excited, they may take exception to it, or worse still...
Kenneth Williams.
Deviation is discussing other people's reactions to something. The subject is what I do at midnight.
Well, it's other people's reaction to what I do that's the important thing.
Peter justified what he was saying, so he has another point, and there are 49 seconds on What I Do at Midnight, starting now.
Well, just after...
Cleansing Millie. Yes, I agree, Andre. 47 seconds on What I Do at Midnight, starting now.
what I do at midnight does vary, because sometimes I may be in a very deep sleep, and here...
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Deviations can't do anything if she's in a deep sleep, so why talk about
She can dream, can't she?
what I do at midnight? Because I'm in a deep sleep. I don't do anything in a deep sleep.
Well, you could be dreaming, you could be twitching.
That isn't doing in the sense
Yes,
that
it
we
is. You
call
could be turning
doing.
over and putting the bed.
Oh, Philip, you're talking a load of rubbish. When you're doing your acting, you're going about, you should see me, when I'm really going at something. I'm not laying there deep breathing.
I have heard people say, what did you do at midnight last night when I was
Yeah, well,
fast
they
asleep?
ask you. It's another matter entirely, isn't it? Half the time you are asleep.
And the person says, I don't know.
In any case, there's nothing in the rules that says we can't talk a load of rubbish.
Or again. What's that?
Well, repeat it,
I
because
say,
it was
there's
good.
nothing in the rules that says we can't talk a load of rubbish.
I don't know whether the applause was for Peter Jones's remark or for who they thought it was intended for. So, having said that, Andre Melly, you
can
have
share
a point.
it among yourselves.
Well said, Peter. 40 seconds with you, Andre, now, on What I Do at Midnight, starting now.
I turn to the left and then the right, wiggle my toes, stretch and curl up tighter, and hear Mommy coming from the other room. So I get up very slowly and drowsily drunk with sleep, go to see what my young daughter wants, find that it's a glass of water or too hot, cold, wants to go wee-wee, oh.
Kevin Freud is challenged.
It was the second wee.
Yes.
Charmingly put, Clement. You almost deserve a bonus point for your... So, you have 19 seconds on What I Do at Midnight, Clement, starting now.
What I do at midnight is to try to turn into a pumpkin because my children said it was very important that I should do so. I get a piece of green plastic and drape myself in it entirely, painting from inside signs and memorable...
Andre Melly is challenged.
The hesitation before the memorable.
Yes, I think he was got as close to hesitation as is possible to get with...
Do you think Ian could not put the whistle in his mouth until he intends to blow it? One is lulled into a sense of feeling that there can only be 2 or 3 seconds, and he seems to put his whistle in his mouth earlier and earlier.
I know. Andre Melly, you have a correct challenge. 4 seconds on What I Do at Midnight, starting now.
Occasionally I go in the kitchen and have a glass of milk and 2 biscuits.
Andre Melly was then speaking when the whistle went, but Andre, I'm afraid you're still in 4th place, but you've moved up on Kenneth Williams, who's moving up on Peter Jones, who's moving up on a leader who is still Clement Freud. A lot of moving going on in this program, isn't it? Andre Melly, will you begin the next round? Limericks. 60 seconds, starting now.
There once was a dean of St. Paul's who looked at the cracks in the walls.
Clement Freud is challenged.
I was trying to save us from...
You didn't succeed.
I didn't have to.
No, you didn't have to. All that happens is Andre Melly gets a point because she wasn't deviating from limericks, and there are 53 seconds starting now.
If we stick them with glue, do you think that will do? And the answer he got was, certainly not, it'll be absolutely inadequate. This is the only limerick that I know, and in spite of Clement Freud, it is reasonably clean. Some of them are filthy, and that's why...
Clement Freud is challenged. Clement, you challenged. Why?
If it's the only limerick she knows, how does she know that the others are clean?
Because it's probably she means it's the only one she knows, having committed it to memory.
No, knows,
she might know...
Knows means having knowledge thereof.
No. Knows can also mean that she can have knowledge that other limericks exist, but she does not know any by heart to recite. That's the way I interpret it. So Andre keeps the subject, and there are 37 seconds on limericks starting now.
I'm very pleased to get the point, but I'd love Clement to have it so as I could learn some dirty ones, as I believe there are a great many of them.
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Yes, she said dirty before, and she said it again. Dirty.
Yes, all right, Kenneth, you have the subject now, and there are 28 seconds on limericks starting now.
Well, there was a young lady who rode who ate a green apple and died. And the apple fermented inside the demented made cider inside her inside.
Clement Freud, your challenge came first.
What's the challenge?
Inside the inside.
Insider, insider.
Where's the repetition?
Inside her inside.
Inside, her inside is in, I-N, side, S-I-D-E, her inside, I-N, S-I-D-E, all one word. So, there are 17 seconds, Clement, starting now.
There was a young man from Japan whose poetry never would scan. When asked reasons why, he replied with a sigh, well, you see, I always try to get as many words into the last line as I possibly can. Now, this is an limerick, which...
Well, Clement Freud was then speaking when the whistle went, so he gained that extra point, and having got a delightful laugh on his particular limerick, even if you thought that Kenneth deserved the point before the end, it wouldn't have made any difference to the final result, and we did have a limerick from Clement as well. Peter, you're the only one who hasn't given us a limerick. Do you know one?
No, I don't know any. No,
Good.
Can't remember them.
All right, so we have no more time to play Just a Minute this week, unfortunately, so let me give you the final score. Andre Melly was just in fourth place, 1 point behind Kenneth Williams, who was 2 points behind Peter Jones, who was quite a few points behind our winner, who is once again Clement Freud. We do hope you've enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute, and we'll want to tune in again next time. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch. Williams, Derek Nimmo, Clement Freud and Sheila Hancock in Just a Minute. And as the minute waltz fades away, here to tell you about it is our chairman, Nicholas Parsons.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Hello and welcome once again to Just a Minute. And once again, I'm going to ask our 4 clever panelists to speak, if they can, for just 1 minute on some unlikely subject, without hesitation, without repetition, and without deviating from the subject on the card which is written in front of me. And of course, according to how well they do this, they will gain points or their opponents will. And we're going to begin the show this week with Derek Nimmo. Derek, can you talk on empathy? Yes, you may well look surprised. For 60 seconds, starting now.
When I first joined this game these many years ago, there was nobody on the panel that I felt any empathy for at all, because the only member permanently there was Clement Freud. But one day, there walked across the studio floor light footsteps, a clean-cut youth with a strong jaw and a fine nose, proud, upbearing, and of course it was Kenneth Williams. And it's been my privilege over these many weeks and days that have gone by since that time to insert myself.
Clement Freud has challenged by
hesitation.
Yes, alas, there was. I thought he was being so complimentary.
That was lovely. I mean,
yes. You wouldn't dare to challenge him, would you? It's a very clever ploy, that, yes.
His flow was beautiful, and it was throbbing there. It was beautiful. I loved every minute of it. I really did.
Oh, I'm glad about that. Yes. Clement Freud didn't like it, so he challenged him on a correct challenge of hesitation.
I liked it. He liked it, though. He's admitted it. He's coming out with it now.
Yes, well, all right. He can come out with even more in a second, because as that was a correct challenge, you gain a point, Clement Freud, and you take over the subject of empathy. There are 25 seconds left, and you start now.
It's very strange how many people don't know the difference between sympathy and empathy, because empathy is having a fellow feeling with another person, whereas the first sentiment of which I spoke has no sort of connection other than...
Derek Nimmo has challenged.
Hesitation.
Hesitation, yes. I think you can...
The gesture was
Oh, actually, I thought what you were describing...
No, I know what he was up against. I know what he was up against. It's a peculiarly difficult thing to do, isn't it? That definition thing, in the sense of not repeating. Exactly. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I thought he had a damn good try. I mean,
You're giving him sympathy rather than empathy.
Lovely, Kenneth. Derek Nimmo, I agree with your challenge. You have a point, and you have now 8 seconds left for empathy, starting now.
To find out how KW really thinks and behaves and believes and smells.
Sheila Hancock did challenge 1/2 second before the whistle. What was it,
You made me jump with the whistle. I went, like that.
Oh, well, all right, then we won't count that. We'll say that Derek
After the whistle.
was speaking when the whistle
It was
went.
up with the whistle.
If anybody doesn't know by now, I just remind you, when the whistle goes, it tells us that 60 seconds is up, and whoever is speaking at that particular moment gains the extra point. On this occasion, it was Derek Nimmo, so he has 2 at the end of that round. Clement Freud has 1, and let's give him a round. We're now into the second round. Clement, it's your turn to begin, so would you start now with the subject of table turning? 60 seconds, starting now.
Table turning is the most extraordinary thing. It's something I've never done myself. But you take the object, which has 4 legs, grip it at both ends.
Derek Nimmo has challenged.
The table doesn't necessarily have 4 legs, deviation.
No, but a table can have 4 legs.
He said which has 4 legs.
Oh, I think
A table, not the...
A table, you've been awfully pedantic. I mean, a table can have 4 legs. It can have, probably can have 1 leg. Yes, you can have a centre pedestal. I mean, it doesn't matter. Carry on table turning, Clement Freud, with 47 seconds left, starting now.
And whip it quickly over your shoulder to end up on the floor.
Derek Nimmo has challenged.
Yes, and that's table throwing, not...
How you turn the table.
Sounds very sadistic, all this whipping of tables.
All right, I think that here we're a bit tough last time. We'll give it to Derek on that one because you could interpret it as table whipping. And Derek, you have 43 seconds on table turning, starting now.
It helps awfully if the table is round, of course, rather than square, because then it moves much more freely. But best of all, you should have 47 people, fairly strong, masculine if possible, and so they can all roll the tables in an ever-decreasing circle so they bump into one another in the middle. This has a particular name. It's called tabulatus persona in Greece, but sometimes it's known in Italy by something quite different. And if you're very lucky, I would think...
Next point. You blew the whistle yourself.
All right, quiet, Kenneth.
I never got no...
I must inform the listeners that Derek can produce his own whistle because he's just about to drive him through it, so everybody else has a point for that.
Oh, no!
Brilliant. And Derek continues with the subject with 11 seconds left on table turning, starting now.
One of the nice things in this game is to be able to turn the tail.
Sheila Hancock has challenged.
Hesitate.
Yes, we'll give it to you, and table turning is now with you, Sheila, with 7 seconds to go, starting now.
A good example of the idiomatic use of this phrase would be if Clement Freud were talking and only had 2 seconds to go, and I blew the whistle.
On those 2 seconds before the whistle was blown, he didn't, so Sheila was speaking then, gained the extra point. Kenneth Williams, your turn to begin. The subject, my following. I think a lot of them follow you into the audience of Just a Minute, we're all pleased to say. But would you talk about my following for 60 seconds, starting now?
Well, this is a very personal subject, because obviously it means those who are around me very often and comprise, so to speak, an entourage, like ancient people, kings, philosophers, and brilliant...
Sheila Hancock challenge.
Sheila Hancock. I don't believe that he's surrounded by kings and ancient people and all that. He just said...
No, I don't believe it is, but he was saying that this probably refers to my following like an entourage, as in, and comparing it to olden times. I disagree with Sheila's challenge. You have 43 seconds left on my following, Kenneth, starting now.
And they include very
brilliant mentors indeed, among them Madam Osiris, who always says, "Come on, Kenny, look into my crystal ball. Your lucky sandwich filling is salmon and shrimp. Yes, and your lucky stone is gold. And rain is challenge. What?
Cameron Freud is challenged. Yes, I'm afraid Madame Osiris said lucky twice.
He's got no idea. I was in the middle of a story. He's got no idea, has he?
Well, you finish your story. Go on.
No, I'm not bothered now.
All right. Cameron Freud, you have the subject. 22 seconds on my following starting now.
My following has been said to be the best in London. I pick out a trail at Piccadilly Circus and managed to follow it all the way down Regent Street along New Oxford Street.
Kenneth Williams is challenged.
Deviation is now talking about a trail such as hounds follow in a hunt.
Haven't you ever seen him with his
on the
dogs?
card is my following, not following a track.
Well, you see, you can also be my following in the sense of a sentence, my following a dog. Do you understand?
What are you talking about? Nobody would say, my following a dog. Half the people in London are about to be illiterately and the person my following a dog.
All right. I think it was a justifiable challenge, Kenneth. It's just that we confuse Clement Freud with dogs so often we get very confused. 10 seconds for you now on my following, Kenneth, starting now.
Oh, and me?
Yes?
I'm sorry I thought you left it within. That's unfair. I didn't realise. I'm sorry, no, wait a minute, no. Shut up. That's unfair.
Sheila Hank, challenge you.
Hesitation.
No, I wasn't realising.
You weren't concentrating, in other words. So Sheila has a point. She has 7 seconds on my following, starting now.
I have a following of a little girl of 8 years old who is about the only person who would bother with me and happens to be my...
Derek Nimmer has challenged.
Deviation, I'd bother with her.
So would I. I've been following you ever since I came into your dressing room that night. With a lovely face, I had a lovely smile. I said, hello, darling. She said, oh, go on, get out. Get out.
You weren't deviating from the subject on the card,
No.
much as we all would love to be in your following.
I'd almost like to give it to them.
Well, you only have 2 seconds left. If you're careful, you can get 2 points, yeah?
Yes.
You have my following, 2 seconds starting now.
Also, my Auntie Ruby is quite...
At the end of that round, Sheila Hancock, speaking when the whistle went, gained the extra point and is left into the lead. And Derek Nimmo, your turn to begin. My earliest memory. Can you talk about my earliest memory for 60 seconds, starting now?
There are several things that might claim to be my earliest memory, but I think possibly my earliest memory of all was at last...
Sheila Hancock is challenged.
Deviation, I don't think several things can. You only have one earliest memory.
Well, the subject is card, Kenneth.
Singular on the card.
Do you want to come and sit up here?
No, I'll just give you a hand. I'll help you out.
He says there are several things that could be my earliest memory. I would have thought there was only one.
If it is a singular, my earliest memory, he can't say there are several things which are my
I
earliest.
said there have several things that might claim to be, but my earliest memory was... I mean, one can't always be too sure what
No, you're being...
remember.
Yes.
When
And
you're...
she did come in very rapidly. All right.
Two
She doesn't play the game.
I'm quite curious to know what your earliest memory is, so you can keep it.
So, Derek, you have 53 seconds on my earliest memory, starting now.
Was, I think, dear Nurse Snowball smelling of small
Kenneth
beer.
Williams' challenger.
Yes, he laughed and I'm afraid hesitated.
Yes, all right, Kenneth. So you have 47 seconds on my earliest memory, starting now.
It was unquestionably when the drama teacher said, get up and give them all you've got. Play, Griselda, and sing the song that lovers sing. And so I...
Clement Freud has challenged you.
2 things.
Sing the song that lovers sing. Yes, what a pity. Because I would love to know what else Griselda said. There are 32 seconds on my earliest memory now, Clement, with you starting now.
My earliest memory was having my nappy changed by a nurse when I was very young indeed.
Sheila Hancock has challenged. Why?
Did you say when I was? I thought you repeated it.
My earliest memory was having my nappy changed when I... No, there wasn't 2 when I was.
thought
It's
you
just-
hesitated.
There were 2 was-is, but your challenge was when I was. 25 seconds on my earliest memory, Clement, starting now.
Taking the piece of silken cloth by one corner.
Kenneth Williams has challenged.
Deviation, nappies out silk.
They were my day.
You see, this is my problem, ladies and gentlemen and listeners.
It isn't a problem, you know that, nappies, don't you? You're a father yourself.
I know. Yes, I know that nappies and all the ones I used were, and all the ones I had on were, but it is quite possible that a nappy could have been silken. So there's no reason he's not actually deviating from the subject of the card. Now, I can, in a situation like this, only put it to the wider discretion. If you think he was challenged too soon, if you think he was going on to say a silken nappy, then you're with Kenneth Williams and you cheer. And if you disagree and you're with Clement Freud on this and you give him justification, then you boo. And will you all do it together now? You are enjoying yourselves, aren't you? Well, all I can say is the audience has decided that Kenneth Williams should have the benefit of the doubt, and he has the subject, therefore, with 22 seconds on my earliest memory starting now.
And singing thus of the rose and the ring, I grew to a stature unbelievable, principally because I was on stilts. Unbelievable, so it may.
Clement Freud is challenged.
Second, unbelievably.
I said unbelievable.
All right, Ken, you have another point and 7 seconds on my earliest memory starting now.
Then with my feather duster, I flicked the prince in the face. Oh, they shouted, what bravado! Incredible!
And they've been shouting, oh, what bravado, ever since, haven't they? Kenneth, you've gained a number of points at the end of that round, and you really have leapt into the lead. But you have to work at it hard, because Clement is almost beside you, and Sheila and Derek just a little way away. Sheila, your turn to begin. Getting comfortable. Can you talk on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
This is something I find incredibly difficult, as I am rather a fidgety person. However, since I've taken up yoga, it becomes slightly simpler. What you have to do is lie on your back on a fairly hard surface, and then you relax your toes, and then your heels. After that, your calf muscles, followed by your knees, and your thighs. Then your... Well, it was
Hesitation. I think she was trying to find a way to stop saying yaw, which she repeated about 5 times.
I know you don't go on yaw.
No, I know we don't go on yaw, but after about 7 times I would have given it against her, because she could have gone on definitely every other word yaw.
Yeah.
Anyway, she hesitated, searching, and you now, Derek, have the point and the subject and 30 seconds on getting comfortable, starting now.
To get truly comfortable, I would also require Sheila Hancock, and I would want her to twiddle my toes first of all and soothe my calf.
Sheila Hancock is...
Deviation, I won't. I wouldn't dream of twiddling his toes. He twiddles his toes very well on his own. We've all seen it, haven't we?
Yes, but it's not deviating from getting comfortable. You see, this is Derek's idea of getting comfortable, you twiddling his toes.
Yes, but if I'm not willing to cooperate, it's not possible.
Ah, but it could still be his fantasy
Oh,
that if he wanted you to do it. This
Well,
would
it
make
should
him
be
comfortable.
fantasies of getting comfortable, honestly.
This is Derek's idea of getting comfortable. He has a point, and he has 23 seconds, starting now.
There are other ways of getting comfortable, of course. You can go into a lovely green...
Clement Freud is challenged.
Repetition of course.
No, not that time.
No, he hasn't said of course yet in this round.
All the time. Not this round.
Not this round.
He does keep saying.
You're keeping
of course.
up your campaign.
Yes, my campaign stop people saying.
Derek Nimmo, I disagree with that challenge. You have another point, and you have 18 seconds on getting comfortable, starting now.
A little white tent in a meadow, a Boy Scout and I. And with the green grass and the meadow flowers.
He giggled.
He giggled?
Yes. I can giggle if I want to, nothing against giggling.
Yeah, but it's a giggle hesitation.
I didn't hesitate.
No, I don't think you really hesitated anyway. But the trouble is I didn't hear it because you giggled. 13 seconds on getting comfortable, Derek, starting now.
On a boat, on the sea, with a green wave blowing hard over the prow. That is a very good way of getting comfortable because it's soothing. Strange how the motion of the sea sometimes can caress your whole...
He did repeat C then. Somebody could have got him with 2 seconds to go, but they didn't, so Derek Nimmo has now taken the lead at the end of that round. Clement Freud, will you begin the next round, please? Bumbling. Can you talk to us on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
Bumbling is a method of speech or a mode of address, a form of saying something in which you can say unbelievably with one breath, unbelievably with another, unbelievably, 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 and you go on bumbling happily because it has just been proved that this is within the rules of this game. Something I know. Bumbling is something...
Sheila Hancock has challenged.
Was it hesitation?
I think it was, yes.
Very long pause.
30 seconds now on bumbling, Sheila, starting with you.
I think it was mentioned originally in Man in a Boat. 3, the same that I just said. There was a character called... I'm bumbling.
It was completely incoherent.
It was bumbling, I know. It was bumbling, so she has another point, and there are 22 seconds on bumbling, Sheila, starting now.
It probably is one of the reasons why...
Kenneth Williams' challenge.
Hesitation.
Sheila, there was only 2 seconds, so it couldn't have been hesitation. You have now 20 seconds left on bumbling, starting now.
And after that, you can just waffle around, and this program is a prize example of how you have to bumble. In fact, I don't think it's very good for the English language to appear on this show, because it encourages you not...
Clement Freud's challenge.
Repetition show.
No, I said program before.
Yeah.
I did, honestly, because I thought of it.
I believe you.
There are 6 seconds on bumbling now. Still with you, Sheila, starting now.
I think it is much better.
Derek Nimmer's challenge, I think.
Yes,
I'm afraid you did think too much there. When you stop and have to start again, it's difficult. There are 4.5 seconds on bumbling with you, Derek.
One always wants to go to the root of words and decide what they really do mean. First of all, we must dissect the word into bum.
Derek Nimmo, having dissected the word, was saved by the bell. The whistle on this occasion, but he's still in the lead, 2 points ahead of Sheila, 4 points ahead of Clement Freud and Kenneth Williams, who are both equal in 3rd place. Kenneth Williams, your turn to begin. The subject, Milo of Crotona. Will you talk about him for 60 seconds, starting now?
I don't know why they always choose these odd people for me to discuss. He was a Greek athlete and won 12 times this incredible marathon at the Games, which were, of course, the Olympic ones, and he appeared at Pivia. Now, the Pivian Games were held...
Clement Freud's challenge, John.
Repetition of games.
Yes, and Pivia too.
Pivian.
Oh, yes, that's right. Olympic Games and the Pivia Game. Clement, a correct challenge. You have a subject and a point and the subject, and you have 43 seconds on Milo of Crotona, starting now.
Milo of Crotona acted in the 500 BC era and was, as my colleague Kenneth Williams said, an athlete of great renown. It is now a better known bedtime drink, and many is the woman who has said to her son, do sip up your Milo of Crotona before the wicked fairies get you. A very nice, pleasant sentiment I always feel, although feeling is something I don't do as often perhaps as my colleague and my friend.
Repetition of colleague and a lot of hesitation.
Yes, he was sort of slowly running down. Talk about sheer fantasy. But of course, if you can go with as stern a face as Clement Freud, with the authority and erudition that backs so much of what he says, sometimes you're reluctant to challenge. Derek, I agree with the challenge. You have 3 seconds to go on Milo of Crotona, starting now.
He met the most horrible death because he banged his hand into a tree and roared beckoned.
We're giving a bedtime drink called Milo of Crotona. Clement Freud nearly put us to sleep here with a Milo of Crotona. You are still in the lead, Derek Nimmo, at the end of that round. And would you please begin the next round? The subject is my rummage. Can you talk to me on that subject for 60 seconds, starting now?
I have a lovely little attic, and it's filled with rummage of one kind and another. An old clothes horse, a violin, piles of books, flutes, cellos, a string guitar, and my favorite teddy, whose name is Bobby, and has eyes that are made of wool because I once chewed...
Clement Freud's challenge, why?
Deviation.
Why?
You don't keep your favorite teddy in your attic. If you had any affection for it at all, it would be
Well, it
by
could
his
still be
like my
his
teddy.
favourite teddy from when he was a little boy,
He
but
didn't
now...
say that. He said my favourite teddy.
Well, it's almost still his favourite teddy, but his favourite teddy happens to be in his attic. It's very unfortunate, and... But I disagree with the challenge. Derek, 38 seconds left on my rummage, starting now. Sometimes my vicar comes round, the Reverend Selwyn Cox.
He's not his vicar, he's the vicar of the parish. You can't have a personal vicar, and he's...
You can't have a personal vicar, but you can often say my vicar, but I do think, and if you're as clerical as Derek Nimmer in the parts he plays, you might often actually say my vicar. But I do think what we'll do here is Derek's well in the lead. We'll give you, for a good challenge, a point and the subject, and there are 34 seconds left on my rummage, starting now.
Includes a miniature chamber pot with "After You, My Dear" in gold. Everyone comments upon this. Oh, how charming, they cry on entering the room, for it is a focal point. Next to that stands a china whale, presented to me by that great person, Mr. Orson Welles, who was brilliant enough to pick me out from among hundreds of others as the most talented young man of his day, which of course is absolutely true. I would say...
And speaking when the whistle went, and he did at the end of that round, gaining the extra point, managed to leap forward from 4th place into 3rd place. But I'm afraid we have no more time to play just a minute. Clement Freud, for once, finished in 4th place, to 1 point behind Kenneth Williams, who was equal in 2nd place. My apologies to that brilliant young man over there. Equal in 2nd place alongside Sheila Hancock, but none of them managed to overtake Derek Nimmo, who is once again this week's winner. Enjoyed in just a minute. From all of us here, goodbye.
The chairman of Just a Minute was Nicholas Parsons. The programme was devised by Ian Messiter and produced by David Hatch.